Have you ever felt that sharp internal sting when someone criticizes you or doubts your abilities? A feeling that we often call a hurt ego? What if I told you that this very feeling holds the key to either your greatest success or your most painful destruction? When a person's ego is hurt, a powerful energy is unleashed. Either this energy is channeled, and it creates a storm of ambition that makes them incredibly successful in life, or this very same energy, if uncontrolled, can turn inward and destroy them. The direction it takes depends entirely on one simple thing: understanding which type of ego is living inside of you. Subscribe to English Vibe Daily right now, because who knows, maybe later we won't get a chance to meet again. Hello, my friends, and a very warm welcome back to English Vibe Daily. I'm Adam, and today we are going to dive deep into a very powerful and personal topic. We are going to talk about the concept of the ego, exploring 3 different types of ego and discovering which one might be driving your actions. You will learn the incredible benefits and the hidden disadvantages that each type of ego can bring into your life. In this session, I will speak slowly and clearly. I will use simple, powerful words, and I will repeat the key ideas so that these profound psychological concepts can become clear and useful for you. I warmly invite you to shadow along with me, not just to practice English, but to embark on a journey of self-discovery. Are you ready? Take a deep, honest breath, and let's begin together. The unstoppable force of the resilience. Ego. Let's begin by exploring a type of ego that is the engine behind so many great success stories. I call it the resilience ego. There are some people in this world who are built in a very special way. Even if a violent storm of problems stands between them and their decisions, they will never hesitate to face it head on. It does not matter how many times they fail in life, how many times they fall, or how many people tell them to stop. They will simply never, ever give up. The internal force, the type of ego that gives a person this kind of powerful, almost superhuman willpower, is what we call the resilience ego. This ego is a profoundly positive force. It is the quiet but firm voice inside that never, ever lets a person give up easily. People who possess a very high resilience ego are often the trailblazers, the innovators, and the leaders in our society. For example, if someone with this ego has a very big, ambitious goal, let's say to start their own business, and a huge, unexpected problem arises in achieving that goal, they do not react with fear. They do not quit. Instead, their mind immediately shifts into problem-solving mode. They will find a creative solution to that problem. They will clear that obstacle from their path, and then they will continue moving towards their goal. It doesn't matter how big the problem is that comes their way. It doesn't matter how much other people may try to suppress them or tell them their dream is impossible. The mantra of their soul is simply this: never stop and never, ever give up. This incredible strength comes from a deep and powerful self-belief, a core confidence that they are capable of doing almost anything they set their minds to. These are not the kind of people who passively rely on fate or luck to determine their lives. No. They are the kind of people who believe that they are the authors of their own destiny, and they know how to write their own story. This type of ego is what drives entrepreneurs through years of struggle, what pushes athletes to train when their bodies are aching, and what helps students to keep studying when an exam seems impossibly difficult. It is the very engine of perseverance. However, like any powerful force, this ego also has some potential disadvantages if it becomes unbalanced. For example, if this ego grows a little too strong inside a person, it can transform from healthy self-confidence into a dangerous and blinding overconfidence. Because of this, other people may start to see them not as confident, but as arrogant and unwilling to listen to advice. It may also happen that these incredibly determined individuals become passionately dedicated to a goal that is actually wrong for them, or even destructive, and once they are on that path, their powerful ego makes it very, very difficult for them to stop, to admit they were wrong, or to change direction. That is why it is so crucial for a person with a strong resilience ego to choose their goals very carefully after much thoughtful consideration. When this ego is directed towards a positive, well-chosen goal, it is one of the most powerful forces for good in the world. You've just learned about the powerful, forward-moving energy of the resilience ego. It's a force that builds empires and achieves the impossible. If you recognize a part of yourself in that description, that's wonderful. Now let's explore a very different and often more painful type of ego that many of us wrestle with: the fragile shield of the defensive ego. The second type of ego is something many of us know intimately. We call it the defensive ego. People who operate from a defensive ego are often very sensitive, especially when it comes to their own self-image. Any form of criticism, even if it is constructive, can feel like a deep, personal attack. And if someone says something even slightly negative about them, these words can hurt them tremendously and for a very long time. If you ever try to point out a mistake that someone with a defensive ego has made, their first automatic reaction is not to listen and reflect. Their first reaction is to try and prove you wrong, to defend their position at all costs. Internally, these individuals may feel very weak, insecure, or full of self-doubt. But externally, they will go to any extent, use any argument, and fight any battle to prove themselves right and to maintain an outward appearance of being powerful and in control. Their primary unspoken demand from the world is this: you must always respect me and see me as being correct. Because of this deep-seated fear of being wrong, these people can almost never admit their own mistakes. And this is the great tragedy of the defensive ego. Because if you cannot admit your mistakes, genuine growth becomes almost impossible. If you are always blaming others or the circumstances, you can never truly improve yourself. Your progress in life comes to a screeching halt. However, this does not mean that having a defensive side is entirely negative. If you can learn to control this ego and use it with wisdom, it can also be a very beneficial force in your life. The positive side of this ego is that it gives you the courage to stand up for yourself. The truth is, in this big competitive world, people will sometimes try to suppress you, to take advantage of you, or to devalue your contributions. In those moments, it is absolutely necessary to have the strength to take a stand for yourself and to defend your boundaries. A healthy defensive ego allows you to say no when you need to voice your opinion with confidence, and to ensure that you are treated with the respect that you deserve. The key is to use this energy to defend your rights and your value, not to defend yourself against the learning opportunities that come from your own mistakes. The endless race of the competitive ego. The third type of ego we will talk about is one that fuels so much of our modern world. It is the competitive ego. This is the powerful internal drive that motivates a person to become the absolute best. It does not matter what the arena is, whether it's a job, a sport, a specific skill, or even a social situation. The person with a strong competitive ego always has an intense need to be at the top, to be number one. And if someone else performs better than them or goes beyond them in any way, this feeling is something that is almost never digested easily. In other words, their ego is deeply hurt by being second best. Because of this constant need to be on top, they are always relentlessly dedicated to improving themselves. You probably know someone in your own life who seems to be in a constant state of friendly or sometimes not so friendly competition. Such people are often full of a powerful and dynamic energy. They are often risk takers, they are filled with confidence, and they possess an incredible determination to succeed. To a certain extent, having this competitive ego is absolutely fine and can even be very healthy for self-improvement. It is the fire that pushes us to practice harder, to study longer, and to achieve things we never thought were possible. However, if this ego goes beyond a healthy limit and takes control of a person's life, it can become a powerful source of constant gnawing jealousy and a deep, pervasive fear. The fear that someone else might surpass you, that you might lose your top spot. And it is also possible that people driven by an out-of-control competitive ego might start competing in things that are ultimately unhealthy or that even cause harm to themselves or others, just for the sake of winning. They might sacrifice their relationships, their health, or their own integrity just to stay ahead. The challenge for a person with this ego is to learn to compete with themselves, to be a better version of themselves than they were yesterday, rather than constantly competing with the people around them. So, why is understanding our ego so incredibly necessary for our own self-improvement? A healthy ego can be the greatest motivator for our personal growth. But an unchecked, oversized ego can be our greatest downfall. It is a double-edged sword. A person with a very high, arrogant ego, who is only trying to prove that they are the best and always right, can never truly grow. They can never make genuine progress because they are blind to their own flaws. They can never build deep, authentic relationships because they see others only as competitors. But a person who learns to use their ego as a tool, to use their resilience, their healthy self-defense, and their competitive fire in a balanced and conscious way, can achieve truly incredible things. That is why having an ego is beneficial for our growth. But letting our ego control us can hurt our relationships and our lives. I truly hope today's exploration has been helpful. What did you think? Do let me know by liking this video and leaving a comment. I'll see you very soon in the next lesson.